Sometimes the most powerful signs of attraction aren't in what he says, but in what he dares to ask. Because when a man truly likes you, his curiosity becomes personal. Every question hides a quiet confession. I'm interested, but I'm scared to show it. Most men won't say, I like you, but they will ask three specific questions that quietly reveal everything they're feeling. Once you recognize these questions, you'll never mistake friendly talk for real interest again. Imagine this, you're talking and suddenly he asks about your weekend plans. Not casually, but with real attention. Like he wants to fit into them somehow. That's the first sign. When a man likes you, his questions subtly move from curiosity to connection. The second kind comes when he asks about your past. What shaped you? What makes you happy? What you value? That's not small talk. That's emotional mapping. And the third, he asks about your future, where you want to go, what you dream of, what kind of life you imagine, because he's picturing whether there's room for him in it. If you've ever wondered whether he's truly interested or just being polite, keep watching, because by the end of this video, you'll know how to recognize his intentions with absolute clarity. And once you do, you'll never have to guess his feelings again. If there's one thing I wish someone had told me 5 years ago, it's this. There comes a moment in every relationship, quiet and ordinary on the surface, when a man unknowingly reveals how deeply he's emotionally invested. It's not through big romantic gestures or sweet messages, but through one simple question. And if you miss what that question truly means, you might overlook the clearest invitation to a love that could last. It doesn't arrive with music or fireworks. It happens in the middle of a normal talk. But hidden behind those few words is a shift so powerful in his mind that it changes how he sees you completely. I'll be honest. Once I believed love was about how often someone texted, how quickly they replied, or how intense things felt in the beginning. But the more I learned about relationship science and heard countless heartbreak stories from clients, the more I realized how all that noise blinds us to the one real signal that matters. And that signal hides inside a question, one most women have heard but ignored. I'd bet you've been asked it before. Maybe you answered kindly, maybe even laughed and then forgot it. But what if, at that very moment, his mind was actually trying to imagine a story with you in it? See, nobody really teaches us this part. When a man feels physical attraction, his brain enters what I call snapshot mode. Tonight's dinner, tomorrow's plan, maybe a weekend trip. It's short-term thinking. His reward system lights up. Dopamine floods his brain, and the amygdala scans for excitement, pleasure, and novelty. It feels amazing. It's thrilling, but it isn't love. Not yet. Because real love asks for more. And that more begins in the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that handles long-term vision, future planning, and imagining how two lives might fit together. That's where the shift begins. That's the test. And it starts quietly, the moment he begins asking questions, not about tonight, but about 5 years from now. When he moves from what's fun to what fits, everything changes. He doesn't announce it. He doesn't say, I'm seeing a future with you now. It appears subtly in a question like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? On paper, it seems simple, but in his brain, it means everything. It means he's begun emotional projection. He's trying to picture you inside his future. That's the hidden love language of a man's mind. It's not flowers or texts. It's mapping. And here's where many women accidentally disconnect. They hear that question and reply with, I'm not sure, or just taking it day by day. It sounds safe, calm, and easygoing, but to him, it's like handing him a blank page when he's trying to write a chapter. His brain needs something to build with. He's not looking for perfection, he's looking for direction. And if he gets nothing, he slows down, pulls back, not because he's shallow, but because neurologically, his brain doesn't have enough data to keep building. I remember a client who dated a man for 6 months. It felt natural and effortless. One day, over coffee, he asked, "What kind of life do you want in the next few years?" She joked, "Hopefully one with less caffeine," and changed the topic. 3 weeks later, he disappeared. When she asked why, I showed her this moment. He was trying to build, but she deflected. Not because she didn't care, but because she didn't recognize what was really being asked. And that misunderstanding is where so many good relationships quietly fade away. But it doesn't have to happen like that. Not if you know what to look for. When a man begins asking questions about your future, your routines, your lifestyle, he's not being nosy. He's inviting you into his mental world. He's giving you a place in his story. And what you say next tells him if it's safe to keep writing. Let me say it again. Not all questions are the same. Some are casual, others just habit, but a few go deeper. They come during quiet moments when he's relaxed, maybe even a little vulnerable. Those are the moments that matter most because love doesn't shout, it whispers. And if you can't hear the message beneath the question, you might miss how close you were to something real. So when a man asks where you see yourself in 5 years, pause. Don't perform, don't brush it off, don't hide. Instead, take a breath and ask yourself, am I ready to be seen right now? Am I willing to hand him the next piece of the map he's quietly drawing? Because that one answer might change everything. It could be the difference between another love that fades and the one that finally stays. There's a space that separates physical attraction from emotional connection. And no, it doesn't happen in the bedroom. It happens in the quiet in-between moments, the ones most women never notice. It's when he looks at you, maybe after a long day or during a silent drive, and asks, "What do you feel for me?" Now pause for a second. Let that sink in. This isn't small talk. This is something entirely different. When a man asks that, it's not just curiosity, it's about the armor he had to drop to even say it. Since boyhood, men are taught one rule: don't show weakness. And the biggest weakness, according to those silent rules, is feeling deeply. So when a grown man, trained for years to stay cool and controlled, looks you in the eye and asks that question, understand this: he's risking everything. It's not a test of your emotions, it's a test of his emotional safety. He's not searching for perfect words, he's searching for alignment. He's asking with his heart, not his ego, is it safe to go deeper? But here's the painful part. Most women don't see that moment for what it is. They laugh it off, say something vague like, "You know how I feel," or change the subject. Not because they don't care, but because they're scared too. Scared of saying too much, too soon, or being wrong. Yet that hesitation doesn't feel neutral to him. It feels like rejection. Because by the time a man reaches this point, when his mind has already begun projecting a future with you, every bit of emotional feedback from you becomes amplified. If he feels clarity, he opens up more. If he senses vagueness, he retreats. Let's look at the science behind that. In the male brain, vulnerability triggers the same part linked with threat. So when he's emotionally open, his brain is scanning for signs of danger, anything that might show that his openness could cost him something. And your answer or your silence becomes data. It tells his brain whether it's safe to keep loving you or whether it's time to protect himself again. If you offer emotional honesty, his entire system calms. If you dodge, he slowly retreats. Not out of immaturity, but because love, for the male brain, is both exciting and risky. In moments like these, what he's really asking is, can I trust you with the softest part of me? I remember a client, a strong, confident woman, who told me she ended things with a man after he asked, "Do you love me?" Her first reaction was to freeze. "Too soon," she said. It felt like pressure. But as we talked deeper, it became clear it wasn't about timing. It was about fear. She didn't realize he was asking from vulnerability, not strategy. By the time she tried to reach back out, he had already closed that emotional door for good. Here's what you need to understand. When a man is falling but still uncertain, he becomes incredibly sensitive to emotional reciprocity. He won't always say it, but he's searching for small signs that he's not alone in this emotional risk. And the best way to show him that isn't through perfection. It's through presence. Not perfect words, but real ones. If you love him, say it. If you're unsure but care deeply, say that too. If your heart is still unfolding, tell him that honestly. Something as simple as, I feel really connected to you, and that feeling is growing every day, can ease the quiet fears running through his mind. Because here's what many people miss. Emotional maturity isn't about being certain all the time. It's about being honest about where you are and being willing to share that truth. Vulnerability isn't weakness, it's emotional currency. In that fragile moment, the way you respond can either become a bridge or a wall. Let's be honest. Maybe you've been hurt before. Maybe someone once took your openness and used it against you. So now, when someone asks what you feel, you instantly scan for danger. That's human. But ask yourself, do you want a love that's real or one that's always guarded? Because the truth is, lasting love requires risk. The only way to know if you're both ready is by stepping into those moments, not hiding from them. So next time he asks, what do you feel for me? Don't rush. Not because you're unsure, but because that moment deserves your full attention. Look at him. Really listen to what he's asking beneath the words. Then answer from your heart, not from fear. Because when you do that, when you meet his courage with your own, something powerful happens. His emotional map updates, his trust deepens, and both of you move closer to a love that doesn't just burn bright but lasts long. There's a moment in every woman's life when her phone lights up with a simple message. Maybe just 3 words, "Did you eat?" Without thinking, she smiles. Then she brushes it off. He's just being nice, she thinks. But it's not just politeness, it's something more. Because when a man keeps reaching out with small, steady questions, how was your day? Did you get home safe? Did you sleep well? He's not just talking. He's weaving you into his emotional routine, building a space for you in his daily rhythm. And here's the key difference. Casual attraction doesn't need consistency, but love does. Real love grows through rhythm, pattern, and integration. Those simple check-ins aren't filler, they're emotional anchors. Tiny breadcrumbs that keep the connection alive, even when life pulls you both in different directions. Most women don't realize this, but the male brain is naturally more compartmentalized than the female brain. A man can be at the gym and not think about work. He can hang out with friends and not think about his partner. His world is divided into clear sections. But when you start showing up in multiple sections, when he's lifting weights and suddenly wonders if you've eaten, that's a huge sign. It means you've crossed from being just someone he dates into someone he emotionally carries across all parts of his life. That's love taking root. Don't confuse this with control. There's a big difference between care and control. A controlling man texts you all day to monitor you. A loving man checks in because you're on his mind. One feels heavy, the other feels grounding. Control wants power. Care wants connection. You can feel the difference in your chest. And here's where it gets deep. Many women underestimate how powerful those small check-ins are. They wait for big gestures, grand declarations, surprises, or speeches. But after years of working with couples, I can tell you this. It's not the big things that keep love alive. It's the little, consistent rituals, the good morning messages, the random midday texts, the quiet, I made sure you had coffee. These aren't small, they're the proof. Proof that he sees you, that he carries you in his emotional field even when he's far away. And if you're honest, you've felt that magic before. That one, did you eat text on a stressful day? It landed differently. It softened you. Because someone, somewhere in their busy, divided world, stopped to think of you. And that matters more than we admit. Here's why. From a neuroscience point of view, repeated emotional check-ins activate the brain's bonding system. Each small act releases oxytocin, the hormone of trust and safety, in gentle waves. Over time, those waves build up. It's not about how intense the connection is, but how consistent it stays. That's how long-term bonds form. Not from one big romantic moment, but from hundreds of quiet moments whispering, "You matter. I'm thinking of you even when I don't have to." I once asked a man why he texted his partner every night before bed, even during business trips, even when exhausted. He said, "Because I can't sleep peacefully until I know she's okay." That's not performance, that's integration, that's attachment, that's love. So when he texts, "Did you get home okay?" don't just reply, "Yeah," and move on. Pause, feel the subtext. What he's really saying is, "I can't relax until I know you're safe." When he asks, "Did you eat today?" he's saying, "Your well-being is part of my world." These aren't small talk messages, they're emotional threads. And if you respond with presence, those threads will weave a bond stronger than any candlelit dinner. But here's the important part. Love isn't a one-way thread. If he's offering that steady consistency and you never mirror it, something will start to wear down. He doesn't need you to copy his gestures, but he does need to feel that you care with the same gentle weight. Ask how his day went. Check in after his big meeting. Let him feel that you hold space for him too. Reciprocity isn't about counting actions. It's about showing, "I'm emotionally awake to you. I see you. You're safe with me too." Because most women wait for love to come in one big dramatic wave. But the men who are truly falling, they show it quietly, daily, through presence. And if you don't know how to read that language, you might miss the proof that he's already integrating you into the life he's slowly building. So next time your phone lights up with, "How's your day?" don't scroll past it. Don't shrug. Don't minimize it. Instead, take a breath, pause, and recognize it for what it really is. Love, speaking softly in the language of care. Feel the emotional thread he's throwing across the space between you. Then ask yourself, do I want to catch it or let it fall? There's one question that can make even the most confident man pause before saying it. It sounds easy, almost normal. Do you want to meet my family? But behind that calm voice lies something much more vulnerable. Because for most men, introducing you to his family isn't just about manners, it's about meaning. It's not just a simple step, it's a quiet but deep invitation into the most personal and unguarded part of his world. And the moment he asks, something shifts. Here's why. For many men, their family isn't just where they grew up, it's where their emotional habits were built. It's the background of their deepest values, fears, and beliefs. That place, whether it's warm or complicated, is sacred, it's private, it's raw, and letting you in, that's not casual, that's a sign, a strong one. Now, you might be thinking, isn't meeting the family something everyone does eventually? But for men, especially emotionally serious ones, this step isn't automatic, it's earned. Because unlike many women who naturally blend love and family, men often keep them separate. Family is one box, romance is another, and unless he sees real long-term potential, those two boxes don't touch. When he invites you into his family circle, he's no longer thinking short-term. He's imagining a shared future. He's picturing you sitting at his family table, showing up in family photos, being part of his inner world. And even if he never says it, what he's really saying is, I want you to meet the people who made me who I am because I'm starting to picture a life where you're one of them. It goes deeper than that because whether he admits it or not, when a man introduces you to his family, he's also looking for something, not approval, but emotional connection. He wants the people who matter to him to understand why you matter to him. It's not about permission. It's about alignment between the life he's lived and the one he's building with you. Here's what many people miss. A man can date someone for years and never bring her home. Why? Because deep down, he never saw her in his future. But if he brings you into his family circle, even for one dinner, one coffee, one holiday, what he's really telling you is, I already see you in my future. I once coached a woman who had been dating a man for almost a year. Things were fun, warm, and consistent. But every time she mentioned meeting his family, he avoided it. Not yet, he'd say. Soon. Eventually, she stopped asking. A few months later, he ended it. Not because something was wrong, but because, as he admitted later, he had never truly seen her as part of his long-term vision. And that's the truth. Men don't merge lives unless they've already begun writing that story in their head. And the family chapter, that's not at the beginning. That's near the end. So if you've reached that chapter, trust me, you're not in the playful stage anymore. You're in the forever conversation. Quietly, deeply, without a ring or a promise, he's already making one. He just hasn't said it yet. So how should you respond? With presence, not pressure, not panic, not pretending, just presence. Because he's not testing you, he's inviting you. And how you walk through that moment tells him everything. If you show up real, grounded, curious, and open, you're telling him, I see where you come from. I respect it. And maybe, just maybe, I can belong here too. That matters more than you think. Because men don't fall in love through words. They fall in love through connection, through feeling that you fit, through seeing you blend into their world and realizing it still feels like home. So next time a man you care about says, "Do you want to meet my family?" Don't just hear logistics. Hear meaning. Hear legacy. Hear the quiet heartbeat of a man already imagining you by his side, not just now, but in every room that helped shape him. And if that doesn't make you pause for a breath, maybe you haven't yet seen how love really works. Because real love doesn't always arrive with big speeches. Sometimes it comes quietly with one small question and a doorway that's been waiting for you to walk through it all along. When you step back and trace the pattern through all these moments, the calm, where do you see yourself in 5 years? The honest, what do you feel for me? The soft, did you get home safe? And the vulnerable, do you want to meet my family? You start to see something special. These aren't random questions. They aren't just small talk. They're not routines. They are signals, gentle, powerful signals that a man's heart has shifted from the short term to the long term. His dopamine-driven side, the one that once only cared about tonight or this weekend, has turned into something deeper, emotional mapping. His mind is building a quiet blueprint that includes you, not just today, but far ahead. The sad part is, most people miss these moments. They give vague, safe answers, not because they don't care, but because they don't see what's really happening. They don't know that love, when it's real, doesn't shout. It whispers, and it whispers through simple questions that are secretly asking, can I trust you with the life I want to build? What breaks my heart is how many love stories fade. Not because of betrayal or lack of chemistry, but because these quiet invitations go unheard. A man reaches out with emotional courage and gets silence or a surface answer, and something inside him, something open and ready, slowly closes. Not loudly, but softly, like a flower that senses frost and stops blooming. He might not even understand why he's pulling back. He'll just say, it didn't feel right, or the spark faded. But underneath that vague feeling lies a real truth. He asked a question that mattered and didn't get the response he needed to keep building. That's why this isn't only about love. It's about emotional understanding, learning how to hear the truth beneath the surface, knowing that when a man checks on you or asks about your dreams or wants you to see where he came from, he's not just talking. He's offering you a piece of his emotional structure. And how you respond, with openness or fear, with honesty or performance, decides whether that structure stands or slowly crumbles.
But here's something people rarely talk about. Emotional courage goes both ways. You can't wait for the other person to risk first. You have to be brave too. Maybe you've been hurt before. Maybe you've answered truthfully before and it didn't end how you hoped. But does that mean you stop showing up fully? Or does it mean you start recognizing who's worth showing up for?